And why did he make you so special? Why did he bless you? Think about it. I woke up this morning. Got a smile when I say that shit. I woke up this morning.
And we are live with, for a very special episode, two people that have been in my life for a while. Hey, you calm down over here, Snickers. We're with my dog who is 16 years old, Snickers, and then with my grandpa as well.
I'm younger than he is.
Yeah, you really are.
16 times what, 7?
She's decaying. She's decaying right in front of our
About
eyes.
120 years old.
So are you, though. You're decaying right in front of our eyes, too.
Her eyes are...
Oh, most of her teeth are gone. It's a problem. She's high energy right now. I just woke her up from a nap, but anyway, I just thought it'd be cool to like have her sit on in this. It's like she's probably not going to be around too much longer, realistically speaking.
No.
But so is it going? Oh, it is going. So what advice would you give to your 20-year-old self?
So you're assuming that I would be 21 or 20 years old?
So if you could go back in time to 20, 21, 22, early 20s, between 20 and 25, what advice would you give yourself?
Well, it's hard to say what you would do almost, 50 years ago based on the knowledge that you have when you're my age.
Right.
I mean, it's hard to... You're talking about, theoretically, that I know what I know now, and I would go back and do something different.
Yeah, if you could apply the wisdom that you've attained in your 70, 73 years, however old you are.
Probably would not get married when I was 18 years old, and Doris was 17 years old.
That is really young.
She was only a few
I
days.
wasn't expecting that answer, though.
She was one of those young people. She might have been the youngest person in our high school class to graduate. She turned 18 in August, and we got married in July. So she was about 4 weeks away from being 18 years old. So her mother told her that when you get married before you're 18, your parent has to sign something for you.
Okay.
It did back then.
Did she say she was going to run away if she didn't?
She just told
sign
her
it or something.
Yeah, she not run away. She was going to move to Cape Girardeau, and I was going to go to college there. And she was going to move up there. And back then, her parents wouldn't even let her live in the same town.
As you?
And not be married.
What's same town?
Cape Girardeau.
Oh.
In other words, she was going to move one place, and I was going to be on the college campus.
Right.
And she was going to work and help me get through college. And so she pretty much told her mother that that's what she was going to do if she didn't sign them. So she signed the papers, which is kind of weird because, like I said, we got married on July the 8th, and August the 5th, she turned 18.
Right.
Less than a month later, about 4 weeks, she turned 18. So really, her mother was kind of strange, I guess, if you think about it.
So do you think that was too young to get married at that age?
Oh, yeah, it was way too young. You don't get married 4 weeks out of high school. But we had our circumstance was our parents are poor. That we had no way to. They had nothing. My parents couldn't give me $1 to help me get it through college.
Uh-huh.
And her parents were even worse than that. They were.
So two very poor families.
They were. My family was not that poor compared to hers.
Mm-hmm.
No, my parents. Well, my father made $5,000 in 1 year, and if you look at 2018 and go back to 1957 or 1950, maybe 58, $5,000 is a lot of money. And you live on a farm, you don't pay rent. We just had a house. Didn't cost anything. You know, the house belonged to the person that owned the land. So to say that we were poor would be wrong.
An understatement?
An understatement, yeah. Because my father, in 1956, he bought a 1957 Chevy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, to this day, it's considered that car was considered an all-time car. Today might be worth $100,000 if you had that car. It was a 57 Chevy.
How was he able to afford that?
He got drunk and he made a lot of money that year. And he went and got drunk, and he went and he didn't drink all the time. On the weekends, if he had Saturday off, he usually worked, you know. But if he had Saturday off, he'd go to town, Sykeston, and sit in the bar all day, you know, and drink beer and play pool or something like that, you know. Have his buddies would always be there, and they just talk and drink beer all day. We drank 6 or 8 beers. I guess you get drunk. I don't know. I don't drink beer. But bottom line was,
he went down and bought a car.
You buy a car back then, and you pay 1/3 of it each fall. Like September each year, you'd pay 1/3. So he gave him 1/3 of the car cost about $3,000 then. So he made $5,000, but he paid probably $1,000 for the car. Well, in 1957, it rained every night. It rained every day. So basically, didn't make anything that year.
Oh, wow!
See, we had 40 acres of cotton.
So he was dependent on future income, and the environment didn't produce the outcome that he was.
No, depending on. The next year, they came and got the car.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he couldn't make the payment because we made nothing. I was playing baseball in high school.
So he pretty much just threw away $1,000 for 1 year of use of a car.
Yeah, we had to use it 1 year, and
that's wild.
My oldest brother, was old enough to drive, but nobody else could drive it.
Your mom couldn't?
I mean, we had a car.
Your mom couldn't drive?
Oh yeah, she could drive it. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you meant like amongst your siblings. Okay.
None of the kids could drive it.
Right.
Back then, we had 4 kids. They had 4, and Richard was born in, I guess, 1951. So Richard was, I don't know, 5 years old or something. Right. When I got out of high school, he was 5 or 6 years old.
Not to interrupt
8
you.
8 years old, maybe. I don't know.
But there's, I think it's really interesting because like that's so unheard of in this time. Like in today's time, like I don't know anybody that gets married at 18. Like I know a few people that have like dated since then, and like they're still dating today at like, I don't know, like 22, and like even a few people that have like gotten married to their high school sweethearts. Like that's still prevalent. It's not common. It's not common whatsoever. But like it still exists. But like it is so unheard of to hear anybody getting married at like 18 nowadays.
It'd be like Melania getting married in about 3 months.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be me being married for 4 years now.
Yeah.
Like coming up on 5 years. That's wild for me to think. Because like I don't even imagine marriage in my life in 5 years from now. Like that's wild to think, you know. But it's weird because I was sitting around with I was with 3 friends the other night, and we're just sitting around talking around like 2 a.m. Not that matters, but And we're just talking, and the topic of our grandparents came up, and all three of us had grandparents that had been married at age 18. All three of us, just coincidentally. So that's just an indicator of how common it really was to have, like, grandparents get married in, like, the time that you grew up in. But, like I'm saying, like, now it's just so uncommon. Like, most of my friends at 22 years old, most of my friends are single.
Oh, yeah, at 22. They don't get married today at 22.
That's weird, though.
Hardly nobody.
Is that weird?
You know who Jerry Lee Lewis is?
I do not.
He was, back in the 1950s. Elvis Presley came along, and Jerry Lee Lewis came along right after that. And Elvis Presley was the most... what they said was, at one time, they said the name Elvis, I probably told you this before, but not with a podcast going on. Elvis Presley was or the word Elvis. There's no Elvis Presley, just Elvis.
Oh.
Well, they came out and said that the second most name all over the world, there was only one name more heard of than Elvis. Jesus.
Wow.
Jesus and then Elvis. As far as across the world, people knew they had by one name.
That is wild.
I mean, I've always told you that Elvis was probably the best entertainer ever. And you always said some people,
I think a lot of people have surpassed him, but that is a great debate because he's undeniably, like, a pioneer for his time.
Well, he's been dead for 1977.
I mean, he really was one of the first people that got paid off of just being a musician, of just his art form.
I think he made $1 billion or $2 billion.
Like, with his accumulated wealth, with his death as well.
Well, I don't know. See, he makes more money now than most people do. I'm talking about most singers.
Right.
I'll bet you, about 10 years ago, I used to keep up with all that, and he made like $50 million 1 year.
Like, this is like the 2000s?
I mean, Elvis had been dead like 35 years.
Oh, no way.
And he was making like $50 million a year.
Wow.
And they compared that to one of the Hollywood actors.
Uh-huh.
They made $35 million. And Elvis had been dead 30 years. He made more than
that's wild.
Than the Hollywood freaks, I mean, this guy was, I forget his name, but
wow, a dead person making $50 million in 1 year. That's insane.
And I don't know what he's making today. That'd be something to look out.
How do copyright laws work? Is it like 70 years or something like that?
Copyrights?
I don't remember. It's like, I think it is 70. I want to say. I'm probably wrong though.
What do you mean 70?
Like 70 years. So like the life of the individual who creates the content, and then like after death, it's an additional 70 years.
It could be. I don't know, but his wife, he lived with his wife about 7 or 8 years. He got married to this and he had one child, and she's still alive because he was 32 and she was 20, I think, when they got married. So if he was born in 1935, so what would he be now? 80. He'd be 83. He's 9 years younger than I am, older than I am, if he'd been here.
How many years? 30?
Yeah, he'd be 83 today. I'm 74. He'd be 83.
How old was he when he died?
42.
Wow. That's what I would have guessed.
But if he's 82, then his wife would be about 70 right now. And
Okay.
I'm sure she's still alive. She's
I wouldn't know.
And his daughter, I think his daughter has been getting all of Elvis's money for 40 years. So she's got to be a multi-millionaire.
That's wild. He only had one daughter?
Yeah.
Wow.
One daughter. And of course, there's a couple women came out and said, I have Elvis's child.
Right.
And a couple people came out, and he was like every other rich person, you get all the women you want,
Uh-huh.
So who knows? He might have 10 kids,
Yeah, true.
But
that is insane. Could you imagine accumulating, could you imagine just be giving that amount of wealth? You know what I mean? Like, I have a buddy who, I'm not going to name drop here, but he joined a fraternity at Mizzou, and one of his, pledge brothers, so that's, somebody you, go through, the whole, initiation process of the fraternity, with one of his pledge brothers got adopted. Wasn't it, he would... Not that matters, but it just kind of adds another element. He got adopted into the McDonald's family. So he was adopted into the McDonald's family, and I believe is going to inherit $100 million. It's some insane amount of money like that.
$100 million.
$100 million. And apparently he doesn't even want the money. I'm like, dude, why would you even go to college?
Here's the thing about... In the 1950s, John F. Kennedy was the president, and I think in 1960, John F. Kennedy got president, and while he was the president, he got assassinated. 2.5 years later. So in 1963, I think in November, I think it's the year he got assassinated, but.
Wasn't that right around the height of the Cold War? Wasn't 62 the height of the Cold War? Really? Wow, what a time.
Vietnam War.
The 60s are insane. That's just a side note.
But I mean, what I was going to say was that the taxes, the highest taxes, was 90% of your money. Think about that. 90% of your money. So if you made $1 million, the government takes $900,000.
That's socialism.
So you make $1 million and you got $100,000.
Oh.
Now, John F. Kennedy said, that's insane. So he cut taxes down to 30%. But when Elvis was paying 90% of his money,
mm-hmm.
he said that I'm proud to do that because he was like a patriot. Today he would be considered a patriot to his country. He really loved the country and all that kind of crap, Today, a lot of people just hate the country for some reason.
It's very, very selfless.
Best country in the world, and a lot of people in this country hate the country.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Don't get me started, because they're taught that in college, a lot of them, certain colleges.
Right. Yeah, I don't know about that, but I don't really want to debate if people hate the country or not. No,
I'm just saying that some of them go into college, and they come out. And they don't like their country, because if you get enough professors telling you in college that we're not good people, we should be more of a socialist country, which means that they take 60% of your money and give it to somebody else.
I haven't really experienced that in college. I haven't really had any professors.
You're not going to do it in Missouri.
Right. Okay. Well, at least my personal subjective college experience has been. Nobody's really preached at me their personal views on things.
Well, you're talking about Springfield, Missouri.
Right.
I mean, I'm talking about...
Yeah, I'm sure it happens.
Probably
I'm sure it's a problem.
East Coast, the West Coast.
Right.
And in the Midwest, certain schools in Atlanta, places like that, it's the same thing there. And it's coming it's all over the country now, but I don't see Springfield, Missouri as being that way.
Yeah, it's not really.
I think the parents would come down and say, you leave my kid alone. Teach whatever it is you're supposed to teach. You keep your crap out of your, don't you dare have my. A lot of kids go to school, and they come back for Thanksgiving, and their parents don't know who they are.
Yeah, I think
I've heard that story over and over and over.
Well, a lot of people go to college seeking change as well.
Curtis did.
Right, but I think a lot of people go with the intention of changing as a person because they're not fully satisfied with who they are.
There's no way on earth that people should be able to vote when they're 18 years old. You don't have a brain when you're 18 years old.
I would agree with that, but
I mean, that's science.
Whether they have that human right, I don't know.
I would say, if it's up to me, I would say, okay, if you're in the military and you're 18 or 19 or 20, you get to vote. But if you're under 21, you don't vote for anything. If it was up to me. Number one, you don't have a brain. You don't have a brain until you're 32 years old. You have certain parts of your brain when you're around 25. But you're up. What is this called?
You're referring to the prefrontal cortex, which that's fully developed at 25.
25.
We've had this debate before. It's 25. I've looked it up.
But then the person I heard this from knows everything. Bill O'Reilly. I don't know if you ever heard him or not, but he was one of those kind of people that he would never say anything if it hadn't been true, because he had all these people working for him. And when he was on TV, if he said one thing that wasn't right, the next day it would be news all over the world, because he was the number one person from the time he went into.
Makes sense. Like, I mean, if you're on the opposing side of somebody who doesn't fit an agenda that you like, what are you going to do? You're going to attack their credibility as much as possible.
When Bill O'Reilly pretty much got fired from Fox, he was making $20 million a year.
Wow.
1 hour a day. That was it. He worked 5 hours every week.
But I bet there's some preparation that goes into
5 hours. So in a month, it's 20 hours. And he was making $20 million. So he's making almost $2 million for 20 hours worth of work.
Wild. I would assume a TV networking thing like that, especially as big as he was, I would assume it has a lot of preparation, a lot of prep work that goes into it.
He started somewhere around 1995, and when he was fired about 2 years ago, maybe, or 3 years ago, every single month from somewhere around 1995, it was almost like 150 months in a row. Number one.
Oh wow!
Never was anything but number one. Now I'm sure the day he started he wasn't that, but a year later or whatever it was, he became the number one, and he never was anything except number one viewers every single month. It comes out every month. All these people are on TV, with CNN and places like that. And Fox has been number one everywhere for probably close to 20 years, maybe.
Yeah, that's very wild.
So ever since they've been there, it's like minus a few hours, a few years. But O'Reilly that's why I liked watching him, because if he said something wrong, the next night he would correct it. I don't know.
But he has to do that to protect his own credibility.
Oh yeah, one time he made a mistake, and the next night he said, "Okay, last night I said this," and all over the world. It went all over the world. O'Reilly's lying. Kind of crap,
Mm-hmm.
So the very next night he said, "I was wrong last night when I said blah, blah, blah." That was the only time I ever saw him said anything wrong. Why I'm talking about him, I don't have a clue.
Let's switch the topic up away from Fox News.
Well, I mean, I wasn't talking about Fox News as much as I'm talking to one particular person.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, just one person that.
Well, the one thing I did want to say. Well, another question was, what advice would you give to my generation?
Probably the same thing. What I would say would be, don't date anybody like Bailey. Don't go steady. Is that they still call it going steady?
Yeah, I guess
only dating one person.
Don't just date one person?
That's what I would say. Now, if you're talking about 22 years old, that's a little different, but I'd say between all the way through high school, don't even date anybody. And then in college, if you feel like you have to date somebody, don't date the same person.
Okay.
Because I don't know what's happening with like Bailey. Her boyfriend's what, 300 miles to where you guys are? At least 200 miles.
I wouldn't know.
I mean, she goes up there a lot, so I think it's a couple hundred miles away. That's different. But as far as your buddy, what's his name, across the street from you guys?
Kyle.
Yeah, and he's still. Did you tell him once they were living together in one apartment?
Yeah, they've been living together for a while.
Now I guess they're making it out okay. But
don't you think there's kind of a cool aspect to like commitment at the same time, committing to like one person? Because I think that's a problem amongst my generation, is that people don't want to just commit to one thing.
I don't think they should, but then I guess it's working for. Oh Lord.
For Kyle.
No.
For Bailey.
No. Curtis's older son.
Mason.
I'm telling you, I'm losing.
By the way, you need to start. There's this supplement, and I've been meaning to tell you about this anyway, so I'll just bring it up now. It's called Lion's Mane. It's a cognitive restoration and what's the word I'm looking for? It's just really good for like cognitive development and preservation, basically. But it's a fungi. It's a type of mushroom, and it's crazy good for your brain and like longevity and whatnot.
When you get home, maybe tomorrow, the next day, whenever you think about it, send me a text and write it in there exactly what I would look up.
Okay, I'll write it down right now.
'Cause I'm going to the doctor tomorrow, and that's one of the questions I'm going to ask him. What can I use to help me with forgetting things?
Off the little I know, that and ginkgo biloba, it's spelled ginkgo biloba, and that's very good for memory as well.
Write it down there, and
which that I gave you before, and I think you quit taking it.
I was taking something. I lost it. I ran out about a month ago, and I looked at Sam's, and I couldn't find it. So I just I just said, "Oh crap! I ain't gonna look at it for an hour." I couldn't find it on their shelves.
I also think you need to move more too. Not to tell you how to live your life, but I know with me at least, like I'm mentally a lot more sharp and a lot more alert after I've like gone on like a jog or something, which is why I haven't worked out today. But like I typically work out before these podcasts so that I'm like just like very attentive.
Right now I got 69.33, and I didn't put this thing on
your Fitbit?
As soon as I got up. 69, so say 7,000, and that
oh, you have to hit it that hard.
3.12 miles.
Oh, you moved that much today?
Yeah.
Really? Can you do a push-up?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I figured you could.
Oh yeah, I can do push-up. I've been doing weights. I do those weights every day.
Okay, good.
Yeah. But as far as me walking a lot, if I don't, and I look at this at 8 o'clock at night, I'll walk through the house several times. Mm-hmm. But when I usually go to Sam's. Seems like she sends me to Sam's every day, you know. You go to Sam's, you just go inside Sam's and you walk a mile in there. Because it's so big, you can't find anything, you know. I mean, the store is that big. Walmart, the same way, you know. The Walmarts that have the food in it, you can walk a mile.
Yeah, I'm imagining. I agree. They're massive.
Easily walk a mile. You can walk 2 miles.
I'm just imagining somebody like a Sam's employee, like phoning in on their microphone, just like, all right, we got a senile old man. I think he's lost. He's lost in the store. He's lost in the meat department.
I bet those
old man lost in deli.
I bet those guys walk 10 miles a day.
Yeah,
people in Sam's, you see them. if I say, where's so-and-so, and then take off, it was over here, and instead of telling me where it is, I was go over there. And I usually can't keep up with them, you know?
Uh-huh.
But, so those guys, man, guys, I bet they walk 10 miles a day.
Yeah, they probably do move a lot.
You know?
I never thought about that.
But, I'd say, up till a month ago, I would walk over to McNair Park and back. That's 2 miles.
It's 2 miles, okay.
And of course, they got 93 degrees now, and I just don't do that, you know.
That's not fun.
When I come through that, I can walk through the house, but I'm pretty busy right now because the swimming pool, I have to go out there every day, in and out all day long. Now, I'm not sure where we stand on the podcast, because
are you referring to like topics?
Yeah, you asked me one question, and that would be, like I said, I wouldn't date anybody.
What about off the topic of like dating? Like off the topic of relationships, just like personal like self-development that you would advice that you would give to any like 20-year-old right now?
Self-development?
Or just overall good advice, like off the topic of relationships, but like excluding relationships, what advice would you give?
Probably read at least 3 books a week.
No,
exactly what you're doing.
I don't read that much.
You don't read 3 books?
A week?
Yeah.
No, I don't even read a book a week. I
thought you were at one time.
I read the most I read to date is I read like 16 books in a semester, which was a fair amount on top of everything else I was doing.
I used to work with a guy that was probably a genius. If I've ever met anybody, it would be him.
Uh-huh.
One book every night.
Yeah, that's insane.
He'd work all night. He'd read his book at night, and he only needed about 2 hours of sleep, 2 or 3 hours, and he'd get up and go come back to work.
Wow.
But he told me that, and I agreed. He's so smart. Like I said, he's probably a genius.
Yeah, that's wild.
And it was weird because that was in when I worked for McDonnell Douglas. As soon as we got back, I got out of the Air Force in '67, moved to St. Louis, and went to work there. So I knew him in 1967, '68.
Yeah.
About 4 or 5 years ago, he was working where Scott works as a computer guy, you know.
Oh, wow.
And he met Scott, and there's a guy I hadn't seen in 40 years.
Yeah, well, that's that.
Yeah, he said Scott Rushing, and he said I used to work with a Rushing.
I'm just imagining like a random selfie of the two of them getting sent to you one day.
Yeah, I mean,
like, what?
yeah, I mean, he told Scott, he said I used to work with a Ed Rushing, and Scott said that's my dad.
Yeah, that's funny.
So here's this guy, 40 years later, working at Scott's place. It's a big building, you know. Mm-hmm. And he had to meet Scott, you know.
That's wild.
And he was there as an IT guy, but Scott's, they don't have IT where he is. In another department they did. But somehow they ran into each other. And I thought, now that is weird, you know.
That's insane.
Yeah, somebody I knew
crazy.
pretty well for 40 years ago, and he was that genius that told me that every night he reads one whole book.
That's wild. I couldn't imagine reading an entire book in a night. He definitely was skipping around.
He had the speed reading.
Yeah, there's no way he's reading every word. Yeah. That's what I've gotten a lot better at is like I used to force myself, and like I read like Sam Walton's book on like how he started Walmart, and that was pretty interesting. That was pretty cool.
It is. Yeah.
And it was interesting, but at points I was very, very bored at the same time. And I looking back on it, I would have skipped around chapters. That's how I read now. Like if I'm like bored on like a certain chapter, then I'll just like I'll skip on to like the next chapter. If I'm bored with like a paragraph, then I might look on the next paragraph, or maybe even like skip like a few pages ahead, kind of.
Did I ever tell you
like
that?
A little perusal.
Did I ever tell you that I took Rhonda to speed reading class when she was in 9th grade?
You did tell me that.
I don't remember ever telling anybody that.
Well, you told me.
When did I tell you?
You've told me at some point in time, because I knew that.
Well, did I tell you the whole story, or
Possibly. You can tell again.
you know what they teach you?
What's that?
If this is a book, you could go to the back of the book and read forward.
I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah, you could do that, and you still know what's in the book. You know? And he said what you do is, if it's a novel, you go through it and you try to, okay, here's George, here's Bill, here's Jordan, and you come up with all these characters in this book. You know, and just coming to the back, the front, the middle, whenever, you know, and you're just doing this on every page, you know, and you're kind of reading it. And then you could just read it from the front to the back and from back to the front. And then maybe that'd take you an hour to do that, but then you know all about it more than you think you do. But then you can actually read the book. And you would already know all the characters and what it's all about.
To skim it backwards. Wow, that's interesting. So the idea is to skim it backwards.
Well, no, forward or backwards, either way.
But to skim it first and then read it. That doesn't make sense. I feel like the implied purpose of a speed reading class is to like read faster, right?
Yeah.
That's I don't know if that.
But if you could spend 1 hour just going through the book, now I don't guess it would have to be a novel. It could be any kind of a book. But if there's characters in it, you know all the characters, and you know the titles of each paragraph, each chapter. So you have all that in your mind, and then if you have some general idea of what the entire book is about. So it's up here, and then you would read it, and you could read it a whole lot faster. Literally, they were doing like this. Sometimes it'd go like this in the class. Now, Rhonda wouldn't do that because you had to do this. I'll show you. You read the book, and you would basically do something like this.
That was a really straight line. That is impressive how straight that line is.
I probably could never do it again.
Yeah, that was.
You know how to do that.
Yeah,
You keep your elbow down. That's how you do it.
Really?
Yeah. If you do like this, you're gonna miss it. If you keep it and you do your finger like this, you know, you just do that. You know, your elbow.
Yeah, it does look good.
But anyway, what you would do is you read the book and you have things like this.
Oh, yeah.
And then you say something, just 3 or 4 words here, and then you go down like this.
So it's almost like a tree. For anybody listening, it's basically like a main, I guess what would you call that? Like the main trunk of the tree, and then branches lifting off of it.
And then you just keep going up like this, and you go out.
Details going
blah, 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 you know, and this...
Okay.
It's like this is connected to this. This is the main thing, you know. You just put here. This is assumed, you know. You do this is the book,
right?
And maybe this could be a chapter, and these could be certain things in the chapter, and then you could even go up like this and like this. These are sub thoughts about this. Rhonda wouldn't do that because she said,
I don't like that.
I'm not going to do that because people might think I'm funny looking. Once again, she was 13 years old, you know, or 14 years old, and she didn't want somebody looking at her, and she would be kind of weird.
Yeah, it is.
So it's like, okay, you're 13 years old, but I never could get through to her to try to use this when she was in class. Because she was failing.
I get the idea of that, but like I think there are more effective routes, at least for me personally, that I would.
There might be.
But here, to switch up the topic, do you want to tell the story about 911? Because you brought it up, and then I said I was going to come back in the room. This was earlier today before the podcast started. You said that you created the concept of 911.
So I had my
or somebody that you worked with did?
I was working, I think it was 1980, Southwestern Bell. Back then, there was several companies that did the same thing. And somewhere around 1980, the government came out and said, okay, there's too many telephone companies. Southwestern Bell was a telephone company. There's no one in California, nothing over here, nothing over here. And it had something to do with, what do they call it when you own everything?
Monopoly?
Yeah, monopoly. They came out and the government said, that's a monopoly, or something anyway, so it made them merge it together. To me, that means that would be the monopoly, monopoly, or what I'm trying to say. If you put all of them in the same, then you got a problem. It seemed to me like the way it was better. But anyway, somewhere, I guess, probably the federal government, somebody said, we need a 911. It came to Southwestern Bell to do to do it all. It was a computer thing.
What do you mean a 911?
The government came up with, we need some kind of 911. We need something so that if you're in trouble, you can go.
You need they needed the concept of an emergency like speed dial so that people can get quick access to like an emergency vehicle. Okay, so you were the one, or you or somebody that you worked with, your company was the people who came up with the concept of.
They either came up with it or the federal government did, and they told Southwestern. They gave it to Southwestern Bell in St. Louis. Now I don't know if they came up with it. To me, it would be, okay, they were in 5 states, Southwestern Bell was, and I don't think they would come up with 911, and I only have 5 states. So when I look back at it, I'm thinking it must have been nationwide, and the only thing could be nationwide would be the federal government. But it came to me. I had 8 or 10 people working for me at the time. I was middle management, that's what it was. And then I had these people that a lot smarter than I was, no big deal. I mean, I was their boss. So they brought it to me and said, okay, we need software. We need somebody to do a 911. And I had some kid working for me that was pretty bright, And I assigned it to him.
So he created the emergency contact of 911.
He worked for me, which means that he was doing the work, but I was responsible for it. And 911.
But overall, he created the 911 phone call.
Yeah.
If you think about it, that's actually really weird to think because it arguably altered the course of history forever, because I'm almost positive the reason we were bombed, or the whole reason that 9/11 even happened on the day it happened, was because 911, like there was like some symbolism they were going for, 9/11, 911. So like ultimately that could have led to who died on that day, if you really think about it. Is that weird or is that weird? You know what I mean? Like if it was like 8/11, then it would have been August 11th, and then completely different people would have been in that building, and completely different events would have happened.
In 2001.
That happened in 2001.
And we did that in 1980, so I guess take some medicine.
You're so old.
But so the 911 came several years before 9/11. So yeah, you might be right.
That's crazy.
It might have been something like that.
You had like arguably that young man had a very dramatic, like he altered the course of history.
Who's that?
In a weird way, because the day they planned it on, like the meaning of the day they planned it on, happened to be on 9/11. The number that was created by somebody that you worked with, that worked under you.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I never thought about it that way. In fact, like I said, I didn't send it to you, but I sent it to Rhonda and Benny and Melena and Scott and Kurt. I sent them all that. Everybody in the family, I sent that. What I just told you. And I just happened to think about it today. I have no idea why. It just came up today.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
I mean,
I've never heard this.
It's 38 years ago. I'm guessing on the 1980, because I was still at Bell then.
Yeah, but that is weird, because like all the stories you've told me, like to be honest, most of what you've told me before this, I've actually like known about. Like a lot of this hasn't been new information for me, but it's getting documented, so like it's like I'll happily listen again. But I've never heard that before. I've never heard that.
I've never told anybody.
Really?
Doris didn't know about it.
Really? I've literally never heard that until today.
She said about it, because when we were doing it, we didn't know what it was going to be used for.
Right.
And so I guess at the time, you know, I was fairly young, and you don't really... I don't know. I look back at my career, and I'm thinking I was really young when I started supervising a lot of people.
That's wild.
How old would that be?
That really
38
is
years
crazy
ago. What's 38? 73 minus 74 minus 38. What is that? 40? 20? 35?
I got a piece of paper, and what was it?
74 minus 38. 74 minus 40 would be...
All right, let's see if you can beat me.
It'd be 36 probably.
Look at you go, Grandpa. You're at
36.
Yeah.
See, that's fairly young when you're talking about a whole career.
Yeah, that's wild.
Plus, 36, and I wasn't just a manager, I had been a manager a long time. It was like, I went to Bell and I got promoted after 2 years and I got promoted again after 2 years. And that's the level I was, middle management, when I had these 8 people working for me. 8 or 9, whatever it was. I had this black guy working for me. Worthless.
Yeah.
One black guy, totally worthless. And I went to my manager, and I said, this guy's worthless, but he's black, you know. What am I supposed to do, you know? I said...
You didn't want to feel like you were racially targeting him?
You know, back then, see, there was no racial crap going on like there is now. Everybody's a racist nowadays, if you listen to certain people, you know.
Really? There's none of that
racist.
going on in the 80s? I would have figured it would be worse than it is today. Really?
No. There was no... I mean, I never once met black people. I didn't even know... this guy was just worthless, and he happened to be black. But that's the only reason I connected the two. Now, we didn't have a lot of black people, they don't guess. But if we did, nobody notices. Nobody runs around saying, oh, you're black, you know. I don't care what all these people say about racism and all that stuff. I didn't see it. Now, in the 1960s, I was in the military. Now, there might have been some stuff then, but I had black people in the military. I mean, I grew up on the farm. Black people were here and we were over here. The schools were segregated.
And you're trying to say it wasn't worse?
We didn't have any black people in our school, but we didn't even know it.
Oh,
I mean, what I'm saying is, it just...
You just didn't think about it.
I never did. And my father would use the N-word, And today they'd hang you almost, you know. Back then, everybody would do it.
Not get hung, but you get hit.
It wasn't racist. What he said was, if my dad knew that a black guy's name was George, he'd call him Nigger George. Mm-hmm. And everybody.
It's the first time that word's ever been used on the podcast, I think. I realize that.
Oh my gosh!
No, you're fine. It's fine.
I mean, it's a difference to me. I don't think like other people do. To me, saying that word doesn't have a bad meaning.
Right.
How else can you say a word? In other words, if you go up and say you're a N-word and I hate you because you're black, then that's a bad thing.
That's asserting hate.
But just to say that this is what my dad used to say.
You're quoting him.
He wasn't a racist. I mean, or whatever.
You're totally fine. You're quoting your father.
I mean, yeah.
How he used to talk. That's fine.
He would say that.
It just caught me off guard.
No, he didn't. They didn't do that. As far as I know, they didn't just go around saying that. This would be like.
It's different times.
The guy's name was Sam, and he was a black. They call him blah 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 Sam. And chances are, I'm sure they just told him that to his face, and it was not. I never heard the word racist ever.
Your ringtone sucks, by the way.
That's Johnny Cash. That's Johnny
really?
Cash. Yeah. Just a minute. Let me go take those pills. You can turn it off if you want.
Do you just want to call this quits?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
I'm not sure we got anywhere.
What do you mean?
I don't know. I didn't know what you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I just enjoy listening to you ramble, honestly. It's good to document this. It's important. Cool. Well, I guess that concludes our podcast. Snickers, you're chilling. Snickers is chilling. I don't know if this camera can see this, but Snickers is chilling. You know what? I'm gonna get a little camera on her. I figured it'd be good to get her in this, because who knows if she'll be around much longer. Oh, she was just chilling. Hey, Snickers, look. Alright, anybody in the future watching this, this is my dog. She's 16 years old. That means I've had her since I was like 7, something like that. I got her when I was incredibly young. She's been here since like forever. And it's just, I don't know, it's just insane to me. I've actually, doing the math on it, I have sat with this dog right here. I totally did the math, and I haven't quoted this in a while. This dog I have laid with, it's something insane. Why can I not think of it off the day? I did the math. I won't be able to quote the math, but it was like 2 years of life, like 2 full years that I've laid next to this dog, like sleeping. Because I would sleep with her. This is what it was. I think I argue that I've slept with her because she's been around 16 years. So out of those 16, I think I've slept with her, because I sleep with her as much as I possibly can. 6 of those years.
Every night?
I would say so. Because I've been sleeping with her since I was a little kid. And then you divide that by 1/3, or you multiply that by 1/3, and that comes out to 2. That's what I think.
I slept with her once, and she licked my leg all night, and I woke up, and I had to do the backstroke to get out of your basement. You know? I thought, what is this? And I looked down there, and I guess she licked me all night, you know, because this was like 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, and she was licking on my leg. I was downstairs at your house on that couch, and
that's really funny, honestly.
I mean, it's like, oh, I guess you do the backstroke. You could lick me all night.
Cool. Well, do you have any last words? I'm gonna zoom in on your face.
I'm not even sure what we talked about. You had certain questions, and I don't know if I answered your questions.
You definitely got off topic a lot, but it was enjoyable. I enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah, I guess
I mean, that's all I really care about doing these. I just want to enjoy the conversation. I want the guests to be really comfortable and to enjoy it. I want them to enjoy it more than I do, or hopefully, like, because I feel like I'm gonna enjoy it almost regardless. So my goal is to make them comfortable and to make them enjoy themselves, and then I feel like the listeners will enjoy that if we're both enjoying the conversation.
I'm not sure why I started off so young, except you asked me a question and I went back to when I was young, trying to figure out, okay, I was 15 then, and I tried to think like I was a kid, and that's where I came up with all that.
Probably triggered a lot of...
all that, my parents being semi-poor, but not really.
Yeah, because I originally asked about advice that you give your 20-year-old self.
Yeah, and then my mind went back till I tried to go back when I was 22, but I've been married for 4 years, you know.
Yeah, I feel like the way your brain works in a lot of ways is like it's like a web. Like I say one thing, and then you start off talking about one thing, and I mean we're all like this, and to some extent. And we like you start off with this topic on the original question, and then you would answer it or partially answer it, and then you would lead to another thing, and then to another thing, and then to another thing.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily bad. I mean, a lot of the reason, like you specifically, that I want to get you on this podcast as much as I do is because, like, I feel like it's really important to document, like your legacy and all that, and like, I just feel like this is really important. This is more than just like an entertainment purpose, you know. It's more about one, enjoying a conversation with my grandpa, like as simple as that gets, and then also like just that like the fact that like right now, as long as the internet's around, this will be out. You know what I mean? I think that's really cool, and I think that's really important.
Yeah, it would be nice. Do you do this to Benny and Rhonda?
Well, I was actually thinking, because we're going to Colorado this weekend, I was thinking doing like one with our whole family. Bailey probably won't do it, but I thought it'd be cool to like take some time out and do it then. Like with like some cool nature in the background.
Try to get Milena too. I'd be interested to.
I would love to get Milena.
I would like to see that.
Well, I told her I'm going to get Milena on this summer for sure. I think part of it's documenting family, part of it's documenting friends, part of it's growing this podcast. Like, I don't know, there's just a lot of, I just really enjoy having conversations with people, and the cool thing about this is you get rewarded not just for quality, but also quantity, and I don't know, I think that's cool.
You'll I think you finally figured out what you're going to do in your life, and probably if this doesn't work out for you, and I don't know if anybody can make a living doing podcasts.
You can.
Unless you have a lot of
You need an audience.
Followers, you know. I mean, I don't know anything about it, but I was under the impression that you had to have probably 1 million.
You need a lot,
million followers for you to get paid. However they pay people, you must have a lot of, I don't know. I mean, how do you make money at it?
You can sell merchandise, you can monetize them, whether that be on YouTube, which the monetization on YouTube isn't necessarily the best. You also can monetize your own videos, so I could hit up like external companies and be like, hey, do you want to sponsor my podcast? Like, I get this amount of views, I get this. You can buy 10 episodes, and then I do like a short little advertisement for them at the beginning.
So this is how these people I told you about, the ones that they're mainly on Fox. It seemed like every one of them mentions their podcast.
Yeah, I heard it earlier.
Almost every day, you know. I mean, they have it once a day, and but these people are pretty much famous. I mean, they probably have.
That's the thing.
10 million people.
Like, I'm a nobody. I really, like, in the aspect of, like, fame, I'm a nobody.
But how do you ever get up to 1 million people?
That's the thing, is, like, I've thought about that, and like, my method, at least, is I am just going to market myself as a podcaster. And, like just like musicians, like, people get famous for listening to, and this, getting famous really isn't like the end goal. It's like, it's that I want to make an impact. I want to make a dent, you know? Like, I want to make a difference in this world, and that requires me to gain a following. It's not like in a narcissistic, like, I want to get famous, I want to get rich. Like, I really don't value that very much. I really don't. Like,
well, you won't until when you're in college, but like I've told you a million times, well,
we got 3 minutes until this dies, by the way.
No, I don't need to say it again. You know, you'll do fine.
I'll be fine.
You'll be okay, whether it's podcasts or whatever. But one of these days, you're gonna have to look up and say, look, these apartments cost me $1,000 a month.
Oh, you're totally right.
You know, so you got a car and you got all these things, and like you saw the other day, Benny said it cost him $700, or if he was going to pay for your money for your car, he said, if I do it for Bailey, if I do it for Jordan, then Bailey is, when her car goes down, he's got to pay for hers,
right?
And then he got to pay for Melinda's car when it breaks down. You know, so
yeah, I get it. Yeah,
he was saying that, just kind of talking to himself, I guess. And this is when we were coming back.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. And like, it's not that I don't value money, and like, I'm very confident that I'll accumulate a fair amount of wealth in my lifetime. But what I'm saying is that I don't value it as much. Like, trust me, I definitely have monetary plans. Like, I plan to have a lot, and not in like a greedy sense though. Like, it's just there are a lot of things that I'm gonna put before money, but I am also extremely confident that I will be able to find a way to make money. Because I mean, obviously, money's important to some degree, but like, it's just, it'll never be my number one priority, is what I'm saying.
Well, if you ever get married,
we got 1 minute.
You can marry. If you're going to marry somebody that makes a lot of money, then you won't have to make a lot of money, but somebody has to.
Sure.
You know?
I'll be fine. I mean,
kids, you don't know, and it's hard to say how much it costs to raise a kid, but I'm guessing probably $1,000 a month.
It's also a choice.
It is a choice. Like, Chrissy has 3 kids, and all my kids have 3 kids, but her kids are little, 3, 5, and whatever, 8. So she's going to spend.
Oh, I died.
But anyway, I don't care whether I'm talking in there or not. But no, it probably costs to raise a kid from 0 to college, through college, probably close to $1 million.
Yeah, in today's world, it definitely is expensive.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, something as simple as Darce has a printer in there,
mm-hmm.
and obviously the ink, you run out of ink, you know, and so I looked at it at Sam's the other day. She's got like black and then like 3 other ones. They combined and make the colors. So it costs almost $100
for the ink.
For these 4, not black, just the other 3.
Well, that's actually a very big like marketing thing that printing companies do, is that they'll sell the printers relatively cheap, and then they sell the ink like upcharge, because that's going to be a consistent fee that you're going to have to pay to them.
So that's and the bottom line was, what I'm trying to say is, they were probably like $60 a year ago. Now they're $80. Pushing 100.
Cost of living's getting, yeah, I agree.
See, and everything, if I go to Sam's to get nothing, it'll cost me over $100. The other day it was $150, and I don't think I had anything. I mean,
I get what you're saying, though.
Well,
I get it.
The salt, you know, for the pool, I had to get 5 of them.
I don't think I'll ever really I don't think I'll have to worry about money too much, is what I'm saying. And if I do, then I'll focus on that. I'll settle that down.
Just don't ever buy a house then, and buy an old car,
Mm-hmm.
and make friends with somebody that's going to be a mechanic. So they'll more than likely you'll be able to get.
I mean, I'm saying that like I might have to worry for like a few months, but I'm saying like long term, I really don't think I'm gonna have to worry about money that much. What I'm more worried about at this point in my life is finding something that I enjoy doing, and then finding that, and because my defense is very good. I'm very good at living frugally, and I want to find something I enjoy doing that can generate revenue for me, and then find a like economically efficient way to live, and then like well under my means, and then find multiple sources of income from there.
What would you do if you met some really, really nice girl in the last, say by the end of this year, and you graduate the same time she does, and she happens to be from St. Louis, and you really like her, for, say, almost a year. Say you start dating or just whatever you do in college, and you really like this person, and you're 26 years old maybe in a few years, 26, 25, 27, whenever. Sooner or later, you're probably going to get married. I can't see you being a bachelor your whole life.
Right.
And the first time you meet somebody like that, and you're 25 or older, somewhere in there you're going to have to say, will you marry me, or are you going to lose your girlfriend,
Right.
Now, I don't know much about young people today. Maybe they don't care about getting married. Maybe they just sleep together, or maybe they move in like your buddy, When is he going to get married?
I don't know.
Did he graduate now?
Well, yeah, no, like he's already engaged. I get what you're saying, but I like it's not worth thinking that far ahead. That is pretty much what I'm trying to say.
Well, you're almost 23 years old.
I'm very confident in where I'm going in life, so like it doesn't I'm not worried about the money aspect. Like that's all I'm saying, and there's no reason to even talk about it, honestly.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just like I'll be fine. And I'm more. I'll establish myself. Like, I'm a smart guy. I'll figure it out. Like, is what I'm saying. And I might struggle at points in life. I'm not saying it's going to be like an easy ride, but ultimately I shouldn't even stress about it because I'll figure it out. So, but to me, I think I value a lot more. The first thing I need to figure out is something I love doing, and then find a way to make money doing that. And I want to generate multiple sources of income, not just a podcast, or not just a 9-to-5 job, or not just this. I want to be able to be dependent upon myself and upon nobody else.
These people I watch on TV, some of those people were really young. I mean, they look like under 30.
Uh-huh.
And you look at what they're doing, and it's like they're doing a whole lot of different things. These people they're on TV. I'm convinced if they call a radio, that if somebody has a radio station, say there's one here in St. Louis, and they talk to these people that are on TV all the time. Sometimes they talk to them. I'm pretty sure that these people make a lot of money just by talking to radio stations, because they talk to them for about 10 minutes, maybe 5 or 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes. They're not doing that free. That's their time. So these people are doing all kinds of stuff, and you have no idea how much money they're making, but they're all ending up going to be millionaires.
Yeah,
because they don't have one job.
That's exactly how I'm gonna be.
You just do what you like, and next thing you know, like you say, if it costs you $100 to go to Sam's and you come out with nothing, then your time is worth a lot more than that than food. So you might do something for 10 minutes, you might get $500 for it.
Yeah, possibly.
You might be able to do a podcast for 1 hour and make $1,000 out of it.
And if I can build an audience, I can find a myriad of ways to make money. I can write books, I can vlog, there are just so many ways to make money. It's just what I want to do at this point. It starts with an audience, and that's just something I don't have at the moment, which is totally fine. But that's also just like one aspect of life that I want to conquer.
That's I guess I go back to Bill O'Reilly. I was telling you he was making $20 million. But he wrote one book every year.
Mm-hmm. The
day the book came out, very day it came out, number one. Every single book he ever wrote, the day it came out, number one on that New York Times stuff, and he stayed there for a long time, a year and a half, 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked it up one time and said, okay, how much money do you get for a book? You sell a book for $20 to $30, and what it said was you get $3. $3 is all you get out of a $20 or $30 book.
Yeah, that's nothing.
Now, once again, Bill O'Reilly, I guarantee you that he had his own publishing company.
Right.
Why would you give all this, 90% of it to somebody when you can have your own? So I said, okay, Bill O'Reilly sells every book he ever wrote. This thing you knew was $1 million, 1 million books rather.
Mm-hmm.
So for every 3,300 books, you got $1 million. Like 300, like 1/3 of 1,000, whatever it is, $350, 350 books. You sell times $3. I think I came up to $1 million or something like that. I don't know.
Right.
But if you could write a book, and I don't, you could write a book, but I'm not sure you could end up on television where there's 2 million people watching.
That's what I'm saying. Like it literally all starts with an audience.
Yeah.
It all starts with an audience.
But your book would be the people in your podcast. You could put your book on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And hook it into these podcasts. Next thing you know, you sold 100,000 books.
That's what this dude I really like named Tim Ferriss. I've read it. He's written 2 books, and it's pretty much just interviewing people. And one of them literally asks the same 9 questions, and then the other one is like a wide variety of questions, but it's like 200 people. It's one of the best books I've ever read. Like you just learn so much about just so much. Like so much random stuff.
You got over 50 podcasts already, haven't you?
This is episode number 77.
It's 10:30.
This is 77, and you're like my 68th guest or something. Well, I've had you on before, but I've had like 60 something people.
You could easily write a book on those. I think you can write a pretty good book on 50. If you take 50 podcasts and just kind of.
I mean, it's a start. Like where I'm at right now though isn't like I don't plan on writing the book in even like the near future, even like the next 5 years. I might start it in the next 5, but I don't plan on being done with the book for a while.
You know why I stopped writing my book, my autobiography?
Why? Because
of what we went through tonight.
How scatterbrained you are?
Yeah. Where I can go on and like how long will we do this? An hour and a half?
Uh-huh.
And what did I talk about? Maybe 5 different things? Maybe 10?
We talked about a lot. We talked about a ton of different topics tonight.
I mean, a lot of it was just my childhood, because you said go back to when you were 22 years old or something.
You just got to force yourself to be one track, because I'm the exact same way. I'm very scatterbrained as well, and very sporadic and very quick moving pace like mind. And you just got to kind of like force yourself to hyper focus on one topic.
That's why I gave up on the book, because what I was doing was I just sit down at the computer and write. And I could write one sentence, and the next thing you know, I could make one chapter out of that one sentence. And it would be like tonight. Next thing you know, I'm in Italy.
Structure it, Grandpa. Get some outlines. That's what I would assume. I've never written a book. Like I've only written papers.
Yeah, I had an outline, but even with an outline, my outline was in high school. I thought I'd cover the high school stuff, and then I went in right after that, which means next thing I knew I was in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
And you could write a book about Italy, living in Italy for a year and a half, you know.
Just skim it. Just skim everything. Get a highlight, a bold it.
Yeah, it's easy to say, but it's not that easy.
I think I could do it. I could write a book of my life right now.
You have a lot to say. I bet you'd have trouble with it.
Possibly.
While you're writing it, it's like, what is it I can leave out? Because I could talk all night about one subject, but if I'm writing a book, what part of all that stuff are you going to leave out? If I lived in
I feel like just getting as much information down to start with would be ideal, and then from there you can kind of eliminate what you don't want and pick and choose what you do.
I mean,
I feel like it's better to write too much than not enough. I don't see why you gave up, to be honest. I like, no offense, but I feel like that'd be like a really good use of time for you at this point in life. And like the main reason I have no interest in writing a book in the near future is because I feel like I need to accumulate more life experiences and focus in on more things. And I still document my life. Like I keep a journal. I've been keeping a journal since freshman year of high school, where I do a subpar job of documenting my life events.
you could take your life and make a novel out of it, and you take your whole life, and then you just throw a bunch of other stuff that didn't really happen. Just weave it into your life,
Mm-hmm.
and it'd be a novel, but it would be, somehow it would be true, and the other would just be stuff you make up, you know?
Right.
I don't know. I probably should go to bed, or I have to get up at 7:30.
Yeah, we went a while. Well, I just looked at the word lion's mane, so I'm gonna give you that supplement while I'm thinking about it.
You gonna spend the night here, or are you gonna?
Yeah, good point. I actually think I was planning on going back. So
Back home?
Yeah, I got a podcast tomorrow, and I want to work out before it.
Okay, I guess.
I'll take a little Snickers with me too. I'll clean up all in here too.
You what?
I'll clean up like the dining room. I'll just put all the chairs back. But Cool. That concludes episode number 76 with my grandpa and my little pup. Cool. Thanks, Grandpa. Thank you.
Well,
all right. Bye.